Alright, this is the airplane update. About 3 months ago, I sent out paperwork to the FAA regarding my MAL M4 airplane. The MAL M4 was originally a certified airplane, which means that it was manufactured through a production system, met the FAA standards for airworthiness, and was certified under that category. This is kind of going in terms that you guys can understand. Certified in that category, that was registered, sold and registered. When I bought the airplane, I was looking for an airplane that would meet certain qualifications. Qualifications like it needs to be able to haul a lot of supplies. It needs to be able to haul a long distance and not need to land, because in Alaska there's so much distance in between areas to be able to get fuel. It needs to be able to take off and land in short areas. The biggest thing for that really is in case of an emergency, I want to be able to land somewhere and be able to get stopped before I hit something. That's really the biggest thing, if I'm being honest, because the villages in and of themselves actually have pretty nice runways, most of them. So that's not really the biggest concern there. The biggest concern is emergency operations. I wanted an airplane that could haul multiple people and a little bit of gear. For this airplane, it's a 4-seat airplane. So realistically, in this airplane, I could probably haul 3 mid-sized men and have some gear in that airplane and have fuel. Which is quite a capability, honestly. As you're looking at most airplanes, your maximum really with gear is going to be 2 guys. So it's a pretty capable airplane. And then also I want an airplane that would cruise at a moderately fast speed, and this airplane definitely does that. So it met all those qualifications. The problem that I ran into is the airplane I bought as a project, which was, again, that was something that I wanted to do just to keep the costs lower, which it will regardless. But when I went through the paperwork, I realized, man, this airplane has been sold multiple times since it flew and was registered last, and I don't have a paper trail across all those owners. And it was something that I should have looked at, just to be honest. It's something that I should have looked at before, and I didn't. But I sent in all the paperwork that I have to the FAA. I'm still waiting to hear back from them. That was about 3 months ago. I looked just recently, about a week ago, just to kind of get an update on my paperwork, and it still has not been processed by the FAA at this point. So they're processing some submissions from November, and I submitted my paperwork in December. So there's a few things that could happen. They could go through the paperwork and be like, all right, we see that you're doing the right thing. Thumbs up. Here's your registration. And then I can go ahead and just buy all the stuff that I need and go for it and get the project done. Or what they could say is, you don't have enough information and we need you to tie to these other owners, which I don't have that paper trail. I'm just putting it out there. I don't have that paper trail. If I had it, I would have put it in. So that leaves me in a situation where I need to transfer the airplane over to an experimental. And so basically I'm going to have to make a serious modification to the airplane, and it will become experimental. And then there's going to be a whole bunch of paperwork that goes along with that, so it'll be more paperwork intensive on the front end side, but on the back end side, it could actually give me more flexibility as a mechanic to work on my airplane more. As far as operational use, a certified airplane can be used for commercial operation. Addie and I are not a commercial operator, so basically everything that Addie and I do, or that we do in our ministry, is transporting ourselves to locations to work on stuff. When we originally came to Alaska, and I think this is important to know too, when we originally came to Alaska, my plan was to work as an aircraft pilot and mechanic, and so just aviation, that was my plan. As I was looking at some of the legislations and rules that the FAA has, I realized that the way that I wanted to operate as a pilot was illegal. And so basically, if somebody calls me up and says, "Hey Evan, I need a flight from where I'm at to Fairbanks," I can't go pick them up. Legally, I can't go pick them up. That's operating as if I was a commercial operation, and I'm not. A commercial operation is a number of years of paperwork, and it's basically a 2 to 3 person job. I'm spread pretty thin as it is, just with keeping up with my family, keeping up with the work that I do to support our family, and keeping up with doing the ministry stuff. I can't, at least right now, I can't take on anything more. So that's not an option for me. And so I realized if I'm going to be using an aircraft to help mission work in Alaska, it needs to be me going somewhere. And if they decide, "Hey, while you're here, I actually need to be in Fairbanks. When you go back, can you fly me back?" Yeah, I can do that because it's incidental to what I'm doing. So that's kind of the aviation side. And so legally, just to kind of summarize all of that, legally, I can fly myself and I can fly other people to work on projects that I intended to go for. But I can't just go pick somebody up and drop them off. That's illegal. And it sounds kind of silly, but that's really the way that it is. There's rules as far as compensation. You would think as to be a commercial operator, you'd have to be compensated with money, but the FAA has ruled that even your flight time as a pilot makes you more valuable as a pilot, so it's considered compensation. So even just getting an hour of flight time going somewhere is considered compensation for me flying. So yeah, the FAA is really cranking down on that. And so what does that mean as far as the airplane and what's going on with the FAA? The airplane being experimental, it would not be able to be used as a commercial operating airplane. We weren't intending to do that anyway. So it doesn't really limit us as far as that goes. An experimental airplane, I could do all the maintenance on, and I could make modifications on. So that could be a valuable thing, because as of right now, with the aircraft technician certificate that I have, airframe and power plant, I would still need an inspector to sign off on any major alterations or modifications that I make to the airplane. So, and then on top of that, yearly, there is an inspection that's required for every airplane, and I would need a certified, an authorized inspector or an AMP with a inspection authorization to come and look at the airplane. I could do the service work on it, but I couldn't do the inspection. I'm not certified for that. So, and I'm also not qualified for it. I've looked into it, and I've looked at specifically what the FAA says about it. Yes, I have enough years for it, and I could probably pass the test, but I haven't had a base of operations that has been unchanging for the last 3 years. And I don't have a base of operations at an airport that I regularly go to. So those are some things that it calls out that require for you to become a mechanic. So anyway, going back to the airplane, if it became experimental, it wouldn't limit what Addie and I could do with it. It would actually make it a little bit easier for me as a mechanic to work on the airplane. And then also the cost will be less. And this is kind of where it comes in, why this is such a big issue, because I'm not going to go and purchase a whole bunch of parts for this airplane that are certified, because it's going to be at least 3 times as much as an experimental part would be. And experimental parts can actually be really high quality parts, but they just haven't gone through the FAA certification, which takes up a ton of paperwork and ends up making the part cost way more. That's why I'm waiting on the paperwork from the FAA for this airplane. If I hear back, no, we can't certify the airplane, we can't register the airplane as a certified airplane, then I'm going to resort to purchase experimental parts. I have to make sure that the airplane is 51% owner-made parts, or parts that were not original to the airplane. Which honestly, with the amount of work that I've done on it already, I've already made a bunch of owner-manufactured parts. What I have to do is I have to go and track it. And then also I need to make the airplane modified from its original operating capacity. So I have to change something. But a lot of those parts have been manufactured by myself. I'm reskinning the airplane. I'm doing some sheet metal work on the airplane. I'm doing interior work on the airplane. I'm putting new avionics in the airplane. All that stuff goes toward the 51%. So I think that it would be very manageable for me to get there. Anyway, that's kind of where the airplane project's at. That's why it's so important for this paperwork to come through. So, yeah. Anyway, I hope that's helpful as far as the aviation side of what we do in Alaska. I hope that that's helpful for you guys to have a better picture of that. Thanks a lot.